I know. I was like, this is outside.
Like I said, I might just follow you.
Jerry.
Forward a little bit. We're kind of sitting in the dark.
That one there we are holding.
I turned it back off. You want to start off?
I'd like to.
Yeah, man, you go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Make sure.
Oh, yeah. You got the dates and all that stuff.
I got the dates when Penn Jams team said they.
When the governor made the announcement.
Well, it was February the 20th.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you handle
When
this.
they called and said they like set up a meeting the following Monday.
Right.
It's when we met, and that following Thursday is when the governor made the announcement.
Right.
I like how many this place holds. I think somebody said 400. I said 400, then somebody told me 1,000. Oh, I don't know 1,000. Maybe that's where
There's 500 people here.
Yeah. Who's that? What?
Welcome, everyone. If you can have your find a seat. How's it going, everyone? My name is Alonzo Perry, and I'm here moderating tonight. We're having a data center town hall for the county commission, and we are blessed and frankly lucky to have Commission President Eddie Gokenauer and Commissioner John Hardy presenting tonight on some of the things that we're all kind of concerned about, right? The data centers that are going to be located here in Berkeley County. Now, this is also an opportunity for us to actually hear some of the concerns from the residents here in Berkeley County. And so I want to frame the way that we're actually going to have tonight hosted. So we have speaker sign-up sheets that were set up over in that area. It looks like we'll have a bunch of people presenting tonight, but we're going to start with the commissioners actually giving you a lay of the land of what's going to happen as it relates to data centers and what has already taken place thus far. After that, we will open for 3-minute speeches. No longer, no shorter. Well, we can go a little bit shorter. But we would like the comments and commentary to be civil and germane. We're not going to talk about issues outside of the proposed data centers. We're going to keep it very topical. And if not, we're going to ask you guys not to speak at all. To speak, you'll come up to the podium here presented in front of the stage and make your 3-second remarks that will be recorded. The timer will be up there on the screen. And without further ado, we'll have the town hall. Now, the first comments will be for the elected officials that are elected, not candidates that are running for office, but the elected officials first. After that, we will go in order of the people that have signed up on the sheets. Does anyone have any questions? And without further ado,
Is there an opportunity to yield time to other people, or is it 3 minutes per person?
so absolutely not. We will not yield time for other people. If your 3 minutes is that 3 minutes, and that's fine. So once that individual speaks, their time is given. Is that understood? Yes, sir.
When you actually bring the speakers up, will you let us know who the next speaker is so the next speaker can come? Because if they're in the back, there'll be a lot of time wasted.
Sure. I think that's a great idea.
Who's on that?
So I'll keep that in mind so that we can keep this flowing. In the corner?
Yes, will they be answering our questions?
So the commissioners will have the ability either to just allow people to bring their concerns first. If the answers that the individual hasn't asked wasn't answered yet, I'm sure that they have the ability to pitch in their ideas, but we're going to give them the floor first, just relay what they know, what's going on, and then from there, if they would like to answer a specific question that has happened, it's perfectly fine for them, but for the most part, we want to hear the concerns of people in Berkeley. So if your question wasn't answered, that's something that you can mention when you're making your statements, but for the most part, that's going to be germane to how they would like to operate. Any other questions before we begin? We have a hard cutoff time at 8 o'clock tonight. So be courteous of other people's time. There's a lot of people here in Berkeley County that, are going to live in the region that the proposed data center may be in. We want to make sure that we hear from everyone here. So I guess we can pass it over now to our Commission President.
Thank you, Alonzo. And thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. I'm really glad I took the advice to change the venue. I think we've been bursting at the seams at the Ruertan, but my original intent was to be able to talk to the people in the Beddington area that this really is going to affect. And it kept saying, well, we're going to have other people there. I'm like, okay, let's move it. So thank Berkeley County Schools for allowing us to come here this evening, and Commissioner Hardy. Commissioner Catlett wanted to be here with us this evening, but the state law says when we have 3 or more commissioners together, constitutes a quorum, and then that opens up to the open meetings and all this kind of stuff. So it's easier, a little bit more nimble for us to come and speak with you and hear your concerns about the data centers. So this really started last year during the legislative session. It was House Bill 2014. On a Thursday, we found out about this bill, and it was mostly drafted as a microgrid bill. But then the second or third page, they started talking about data centers.
The details on this.
I'm pretty loud. I was told a little bit closer how that is. All right. Okay, so last legislative session is when this House Bill 2014 came out. And it was on a Thursday that we found out about it. And it was drafted mostly as a microgrid bill. But then when you flip the page a couple more pages over, it started getting into data centers and all of these different restrictions and all of the rights locally taken away and all those things. So John and myself, along with the county administrator, we head to Charleston on Monday morning. Commissioner Catton was back at his house making phone calls to different delegates and senators talking about this bill. And this bill, it's the governor's bill. The governor has had a desire to bring new industry to the state of West Virginia to create new revenue in an effort to reduce the personal income tax. Well, you say what you want, but that was the intent of the governor. And but in doing so, the bill that the West Virginia legislature approved removed all local control and land use and subdivision regulations. Commissioner Hardy and I made several trips to Charleston to testify before a Senate subcommittee on economic development and met with delegates and senators to explain to them how this bill would hurt Berkeley County and every other county in the state of West Virginia. That when you take away local control and centralize it in Charleston. We were not successful at the land use arguments that we gave. The West Virginia Senate made a lot of effort to be able to get the bill to where it was something that we could all live with, and it went to the House, and it got chopped up again, and it came back, and then eventually it got passed by the legislature. The governor signed it, and it's law. So all along, we've been complaining to the governor and his staff about this particular bill on how it will have negative effects on our community. So to fast forward a little bit through that, on February the 20th, which actually was a Friday, we were notified by the state office that there was an announcement to be made on the following Monday at the development office that a private company, a private developer, wanted to come to Berkeley County and build a data center.
Who are they?
Their name is Penzance. That's the developer. So this is a private company that's buying private property. I don't know about most of you, but I believe in private property rights, and that people have the right to sell their property to whoever they want. And I don't think anybody in here would probably argue that point. The folks that own these parcels they have had an opportunity all along to put their property in farmland protection. They could put it in a land trust, or they could have sold it to a developer that would have built thousands of homes. But they chose not to do that. And that's their choice. That's their right, it's their property. So we will continue to work with the state in trying to make this the best that it can be. There are still a lot of unanswered questions that we have, and I know that you have. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to come this evening and listen to your concerns so that we can try to go back to the state and make this better than what it is.
So as Commissioner Goodman, I would say, first of all, thank you all very much for being here. not think that we, appreciate you being here, but we do. This is the entry-level access to government, right? County Commission, we are the closest to the people. We are the ones that work every day with our constituents on small problems like permits and getting something worked out at the tax office or any of that type of stuff. So, we are the front lines and the front faces of government. As most of you know, I served in the legislature for 6 years before I became a county commissioner, and this job is completely different than the legislature. It really is helping people at the very forefront of government. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. We appreciate this is democracy at work. We're going to listen to you all tonight. People are going to ask us a lot of questions that we can't answer. We know that there's going to be a lot of questions that we can't answer, but we can at least take and write down all those questions. And we're going to take those questions and we're going to take it to the governor's office. We're going to take it to the developer. We're going to take it to the next step, and we're going to try to get answers. So I just like to say, don't shoot the messenger. This is a state-run project. This is all out of the governor's office. This comes from state level, and like it or not, that's how it's run. Local control's been taken out of it. We had no say in it. We're here to deal with what has been put in front of us. So I'm hopeful that this company wants to be good neighbors and they want to do what's right, and with noise and water and all that stuff. And we're going to ask all those questions. We're going to be, we've talked to the governor's office. We've said we want to be a part of this. Berkeley County is always the tip of the spear in anything the state of West Virginia does. If any county in West Virginia wants to know how to run their fire departments, they want to know how to run their ambulance departments, whatever they want to do, they always come to Berkeley County and ask us how we're doing it. So our response to that is listen, let us be a part of this. Let's work as a team. Let us try to work and have the best outcome that we can have. We can't promise anything to anybody in this room. All we can promise you is that we're here to listen. So with that being said, do we want to talk anymore about 2014? 2014 was a governor's bill. Like I said, the governor has been working on the national level to try to get more a different revenue source in the state. They saw this as an opportunity. That's why the bill was drafted. It was drafted with local control taking out. As a past legislator, understand why they did some of that, because they wanted one set of rules. But as we all know, Charleston tries to paint the whole state with one brush, and every county is very different, and municipalities are very different. And that's been a battle from probably the inception of the state. So as President Dugan said, we did travel to Charleston. We worked to try to restore local control. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about revenues, but when this bill was first drafted, there was zero revenue. All revenue went back to the state. Went into the general revenue fund of the state. No local money was kept at all. We was able to successfully work on getting some of that revenue to stay in the counties. So that was our fight a year ago in that bill, and then obviously the posturing was put in place with the legislation to start to move forward to try to do these data centers. So I'm not saying they're a good thing. I'm not saying they're a bad thing. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked. Obviously, a lot of you are not happy about them being here, and I certainly understand that. And you have every right to voice your concerns. You have every right to be here tonight to voice those concerns and let us take those questions back to the governor's office and the gentleman who's running the data center stuff, and take it back to the developer and say, these are the questions and the concerns of our local constituents, the people that we represent and the people that we answer to. So with that being said, I guess maybe we can turn it over to have the people come up and start giving their testimony.
Okay, if we can have Del. We can have elected officials that are here tonight, and then we have Delegate Chris Anders that signed up to speak. Are there any other elected leaders that would like to speak that may have not had time to put their name on the sign-up sheet?
Where's the sign-up sheet?
So we have a sign-up sheet located in the back. If you'd like to, where you actually enter in the building, if you'd like to sign up to speak. I think we still have some extras back there for them to sign on to. Can we set the 3 or so that it's ready? Perfect. All right. And we'll turn it over to Delegate Chris Anders.
All right, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'll stand really close to the mic. First of all, it's great to see this many people here taking personal ownership of Berkeley County and your homes and your lives. And you have every right to be frustrated because, trust me, I'm frustrated right now. And I will tell you, there are times I've disagreed with the county commission. There's been quite a few, I believe. I don't need to say rain tax or anything like that. But they're absolutely right in what they're saying and what went down in Charleston. And I'm going to explain that to you and also some things you can do to make a difference. Because anything that's passed into law can be changed, can be amended, or repealed. Okay? Now, first of all, I want to tell you, I'm not against data centers as data centers. I'm against data centers that have no protection for your rights and your freedom as West Virginians. Now, when House Bill 2014 passed, it was a train wreck of a bill. They promised us there would be protections for your property rights. They promised us there would be protections for the aquifer and local control. When it came back to the House, it did not have that, and I voted against that bill. And what they told us at that point is, okay, when the rules package comes next year, you guys can put your rules in. So I put a bunch of bills in to protect the aquifer, to protect your property rights, create setbacks, restore local control. Guess what? Here comes the bill, the rules package, and we put forward an amendment to the rules package, myself and my two other members of the Freedom Caucus, which would be Henry Dillon and Laura Kimball, and we wanted to protect your water and your wells, defend your property rights with setbacks, stop shifting electrical costs for these if there is to you, restore local control and your right of self-determination, as well as, because I'm me, protect your Fourth Amendment rights, and anybody that's using these data centers are not going to violate your right to privacy. Guess how many votes we got? 6, and 3 were ours. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you, and I'm running out of time, and I have 30 seconds left, 28, 27, is that, again, anything that was put into law, you guys need to stay focused. You need to stay organized. If you want to see guardrails put on these data centers, you're going to need to stay in the fight over a long period of time and get that legislation passed at the state level and restore your local right to decide what is in your community. Thank you, and God bless.
The last call for the elected officials to speak. Okay, so the next two names on the list is first David Valente and Paula Wright. If you guys can move closer to the stage, get ready to speak. All right, for David Valente, for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
I will be brief. I think the biggest victim of what's going on right now is transparency. The bill that was passed limits transparency of what's going on here. We've got a data center that was dumped on our heads. I am speaking as loud as I can into this. It's hard to modulate. We've had a data center dumped onto our heads, and we don't have any transparency about what are the impacts to the groundwater? What are the impacts to our power bill? What are the impacts to, we're going to have to bring in high-powered transmission lines to not only get the power into this facility, but get the data out of this facility. How is this going to impact our local environment? And we have no transparency. I know it's early days on this, but if we don't get some kind of transparency on what's going on here, we're in a situation where we are going to have a data center that can do whatever it wants. And if we don't push back on this, we're going to have a government that's going to continue to force these, whether it's data centers or whatever environmental hazards you could think of on this county without us being able to say a word. We also need to think about what comes next. Technology shrinks. Technology shrinks. Whenever you have 1.3 million square foot facility to do technology. In 5 years, you're going to need 500,000 square feet. In 5 years from then, you will be consolidating these facilities. And now we're going to be left with a husk of a building sitting in the middle of our farmland. And we won't know what to do with it. Are we going to turn it into a prison for wayward politicians? I mean, what are we going to do here? So we need to understand what comes next. What is your plan? What is the impact to our community? And I agree with Delegate Anders. We have to continue to push our legislature to do what they were supposed to do. This was a governor's bill, but our representatives voted for it. All of our representatives, except for Delegate Andrews, voted for this thing. They didn't vote for us. They voted for, just a land grab, a money grab. And we are now sitting in a situation where we have a data center that is going to be forced down our throats, and we need to stand up and we need to take it to Charleston and say no.
We have Brian McKinney move closer to the stage. Paula, you have a speech not to exceed 3 minutes, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Okay, so AI is barreling ahead at an alarming rate without considering the damages done to local communities. Because the West Virginia legislature pushing through HB 2014, which removes any input from local communities, and HB 2002, creating a fast track for businesses to build AI data centers in West Virginia, we the people are left without a voice. Now that our voices have been suppressed, I just have a few questions about the data center that's going in here, because we have to deal with what we have to deal with now, and we've got one coming in. So we're concerned about data centers using large amounts of groundwater and drawing down the groundwater aquifers. This facility would be close to the water treatment plant. So if the data center could use the gray water from the public utility, this would help the Berkeley County PSD financially and decrease the ecological impacts of the data center. So I'm asking if we can set that up. Could we possibly have the developer intend to use the gray water? That would help us. And so we'd also, if they can't, could we use surface water rather than groundwater, because our aquifers are being depleted. There is a substation directly across from the proposed location. Using power off the pole from the power grid, rather than building a power generation station in Beddington, would reduce environmental impacts. So we're asking, will the power for this come off the pole, or will the power generation station, or will there be a power generation station involved? Like, are we going to build one? Because I would hate to see diesel generators here. But if, air pollution is also a concern. So there are backup generators that usually are being used with these things. I have noticed that some of them are diesel that they're trying to set these things up. I would ask that if they are going to build a power generator, that they would use natural gas as the backup generator and not diesel, because it is very polluting, and I'm very concerned about my neighbors. That's it. Thank you so much.
Brooke Gibson move closer to the stage as we have Brian McKinney speak for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Brian McKinney, and my wife and I and our 7 children, we live in Berkeley County. I am also a Republican candidate for the United States Senate this year in West Virginia. If you are a Democrat and here, or an independent, I want to work with you to stop data centers from coming to our region. If you are a Republican, obviously I'd love to have your vote. As you folks might know, many Americans all over our country are currently winning battles against data centers from entering into where they live. These areas are successful because they still have local control over their lives. Our tyrant governor and most of our state delegates and senators in our state stole that from us, and there's almost nothing we can do to stop these centers from coming. Tonight, I have this crazy idea I'd like you to consider with me. I'm going to call for the good people of Berkeley County, Morgan County, and Jefferson County to hold a referendum to secede from West Virginia in the next 60 days until we, the people, get the freedom again to decide whether we want these data centers here. So if you're crazy enough to think this is a good idea, I'm going to be here till the end. Come talk to me. We'll come up with a plan. We'll make Patrick Morrissey and all these corrupt politicians fear our vote in 60 to 90 days. I can't come up with another way to fight back. They stripped our freedom to say no. We didn't even have a vote. And there's nothing we can't recall the governor. We can't get rid of any of these state senators or delegates. But you know what? Maybe we can make our own state and make them sorry for ever doing this. So come talk to me. If you have a better idea, I want to help. But this is the only thing I can come up with. Thank you for your time.
So we have Frank move closer to the stage. We're going to give Brooke Gibson the floor for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, I am Brooke Gibson, a 30-year resident of Scrabble Road, a 43 resident of both Berkeley and Jefferson counties, and a born and bred West Virginian. Since February 26, when Governor Morrissey announced the data center, he said, "This will be good for West Virginia." So I went to the Planning Commission meeting on Monday, March 2nd, and you, Mr. Hardy, said, "This will be good for Berkeley County." Then I listened to the radio, and you, Mr. Gokenauer, said the same thing. So I read the actual law. What I assessed was the law actually restricts the rights of residents and gave those rights to the data center. What stood out? It exempts data centers from the Freedom of Information Act. It prohibits, yes, prohibits counties from enforcing local law to the data centers. It prohibits counties from enforcing any zoning, horticultural, noise, view shed, and lighting restrictions. How is prohibiting any local oversight good for Berkeley County residents? How is that good for you? Since time is limited, my last thought is, when reading the new law, do you know how many times residents was mentioned? 3 times. So I want to tell you how this is impacting our residents. We have residents worried about our water quality and wells. We have residents questioning how they will pay their electric bill. We have residents getting text messages telling them to sell their property or threatening eminent domain. We have residents of local conservation groups helping us to understand the ramifications. We have residents volunteering hours and hours of their time studying the impacts of the water, the electricity, our property values, because who we voted in won't tell us. We have residents who own small businesses in the area who are worried more about the residents than they are about themselves. We have residents documenting their family history because they know you can erase our town. And we have future generations of residents that won't understand our motto, wild and wonderful. So please slow down. Please fully consider the long-term risks and costs. Please join us in demanding transparency, demanding to get our local rights back, and demanding a repeal to 2014.
We ask that people keep within the 3-minute time frame so that everyone gets to speak. Before we hear from Frank Booth, I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yep.
like Davy Jones to move closer to the stage. Without further ado, Mr. Frank Booth for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Okay, my first question is about the water use. And I understand there's there's an open system that would use up to 5 million gallons a day versus a closed system that's 5 million gallons a year. So that's a 364-fold difference in water use. But I've been told the closed system is a farce because it's too expensive. We're in the middle of a 4-year drought. So the water table's dropping as it is, and we're going to allow these companies to come in and suck another 5 million a day, which will also cause wells to dry up. They're exempt from local ordinances, or are they exempt from Clean Water Act permits? Because if they're going to be poisoning the water. Our rainwater right now is pH 4.5. 7 is neutral. Burning more coal is only going to add to that. And the other thing is the power and taxpayer funding that. 600 million megawatts. That equates, I looked it up, to between 400,000 and over 500,000 houses, which would be the equivalent of 8 to 10 plus times what's in Berkeley County right now. How is that going to get powered? So, and as others have said, I'm concerned about the noise pollution and the air pollution, certainly from burning diesel generators or however they're powering these things. So that's all I've got to say.
To the podium. Next would be Judy Heinrichs. We can have her move closer to the stage for her speech next. And without further ado, Davy Jones for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. And thank everybody for being out here, because this is how democracy works. Okay? I am a candidate for House of Delegates District 90. That is between Hedgesville and out around the outskirts of Berkeley Springs. And what concerns me is this: one, HB 24 is a train wreck because locality has completely been taken out of the mix. That's when nobody has a say. Government should start with the locality, municipalities in the locality. I am also an IT person. I've been in the field for 30 years. I've built these servers that go in this data center. I know how loud they are and how much EMF they give off. I know how they're cooled. And the fact that these protections were stripped from the bill that Delegate Anders tried to make sure didn't happen is an atrocity. And any delegate that did that needs to lose their seat. Not only is HB 20, not only was 2014 a train wreck, but here's a dangerous loophole people don't even understand yet. They changed 5B-2-218 eminent domain laws to include as data centers as a utility. So now they can steal your land by saying using eminent domain. I propose, if I'm elected, to change that legislation to make it not take it whether you can be sold, but lease only. Because something Mr. Valente said is he's right. Technology changes. This building is huge, but 5 years from now, it might be smaller. They may not even need it 5 years from now. And they've already did all this sitting in this building, right? Well, if you change eminent domain to lease only, and it has to renew every 5 years, the person that had that land stripped from them will get it back. And they'll be able to use it for something else. Tear the building down and put farmland on. I actually have a flyer about where I stand here because I am not against data centers or economic development. However, I will not stand by and let citizens' rights be trampled by corporations. Thank you, and remember, voting has consequences. Early voting is April 29th, May 12th is voting. Make sure you know who you vote for. Thank you.
Judy Heinrichs, and next in line will be Ani Watson, if you'd like to move closer to the stage. Without further ado, for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes, Judy Heinrichs.
First off, I want to say that this Kinsey Corporation that's doing this, it might be a holding corporation for holding corporation for holding corporation. So we do not know who truly owns this. The most profound technology revolution since the Industrial Revolution is upon us. There will be massive job displacement threatening our economy and emotional well-being, our democratic union, and what it means to be human. It will impact how we educate and raise our children, the nature of warfare. We're seeing that now in Iran. Frighteningly, super intelligent AI could become smarter than humans, becoming independent of human control and pose an existential threat to the entire human race. We could actually lose control of our entire planet. As you may know, AI is being pushed by the wealthiest people, multi-billionaires, who, if successful at AI, will become even richer and more powerful. Let's listen to what some of these billionaires are saying. Musk, AI and robots will replace all jobs. Working will be optional. Amati, who is the CEO of Anthropic, AI could displace half of all white-collar jobs in the next 1 to 5 years. Hassabis, who is the head of the Google DeepMind, AI revolution is 10 times bigger and 10 times faster than the Industrial Revolution. That means 100 times the impact of society. Now, let's get closer to home. Bezos, 4th richest in the world. He owns Amazon. He wants to replace 600,000 jobs. Gone. These are blue-collar warehouse jobs. Gates, humans won't be needed for most things. Manufacturing, delivery, food production over the next decade, all gone due to AI. Sullivan, CEO, Microsoft, AI. Most white-collar work will be fully automated in the next 12 to 18 months after it's put into the buildings. Farley, CEO of Ford, AI will eliminate half of all blue-collar workers in the U.S. in 10 years. Ellison, major investors in AI. There will be an AI-powered surveillance state where citizens will be on the best behavior because recording and reporting everything that goes on. Big Brother is watching. Most scary of all, Dr. Hinton, godfather of AI, 10 to 20% chance AI will wipe us all out. Zuckerberg, the richest of all, building a data center the size of Manhattan in Louisiana.
Watson, and then we will have Terry Meisinger. I think that's not right. If we can have her move closer to the stage. Without further ado, Ani, for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ani Watson, Berkeley County born and raised man. My family's been here for over 150 years. There's a house in downtown Martinsburg, the Charles Borman House. That's my great-great-great-great-grandfather. For generations, my family has been here, has lived off the land, worked off the land. When I look at the future of Berkeley County and West Virginia, I do not see a world in which we continue to allow large corporations to come destroy our natural beauty, use all of our resources, take advantage of our people, and leave us to deal with the consequences. When will our politicians recognize this pattern? Look at Southern West Virginia. Look at the coal fields. There are still thousands of people who do not have clean water to drink, to bathe, to do anything with. For a generation, West Virginia has been taken advantage of by these large corporations. They prosper while our people live in poverty and are lucky to have clean water. Let's take a little look back about 50 years ago. A computer would take more than multiple classrooms in this building to run a simple program. I have a supercomputer in my hand right now. How many years will it be until this large AI data center is obsolete? And when they're done with it, it will be left to us to deal with the consequences. A ruined environment, the loss of our natural beauty, and the loss of generational homes and property and land. And I haven't even touched on how this will impact our electric costs. How are we going to ensure that our residents won't be forced to foot the bill of an extreme energy usage? Lastly, how ridiculous is it that we keep voting for school levies and seeing our taxes go up each year when we aren't asking these large corporations to pay their own share? So, as everyone else has said, this is fantastic. I was a 2015 graduate of this school. I was the theater program here. Seeing this many people in this auditorium that's not forced to be in assembly is fantastic. We all have the power to make this change. We need to go to the polls. We need to vote for those who are going to stand up for our rights, for our history, for those who came for us and have broken their backs to build this state and build this country.
Next speaker is Terry Meisinger, and then can we have Chantel Mack move closer to the stage to speak afterwards. Without further ado, Terry, sorry for butchering your last name, for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
I want to thank the commissioners for providing us our Article 3, Section 16 rights, the right of the people to assemble in a peaceable manner, to consult for the common good, to instruct their representatives, or to apply for a redress of grievances. These shall not be in violation. I want to go at this a little bit different way. In Article 6, Section 29 is the requirement for reading of bills. It says, no bill shall become law until it has been fully and distinctly read on 3 different days in each house. If you watch the legislature, both houses, they have 3 readings. The first reading, the clerk reads the number and reads the title. Is that fully and distinctly reading a bill as Article 4, Section 29 requires? It can't become law. The final sentence says, plus and a gross bill shall be fully and distinctly read in each house. What happens is a legislator will rise, ask to suspend the constitutional rule. The people never gave any legislature in the Constitution the power to suspend any part of the Constitution. In fact, Article 1, Section 3 states our Constitution is the same alike in war and peace. Any deviation thereof by a plea of necessity is a violation of the Constitution. The legislature is violating our Constitution, period. Again, I will say, no bill shall become a law. If they're not fully reading the bill on all 3, from my research, they're using their rules. The Constitution trumps their rules. In fact, in Price versus Moundsville in 1897, the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals wrote, the Constitution as the expression of the will of the people is the supreme law, and it is the duty of each department of the state government created by it to see that it is preserved inviolate. So if the county commission does not do their trustee responsibilities, you have 2 job duties. One is a trustee, the other one is a servant. The trustee administrates the trust. In Article 1, Section 2, the last sentence says, "It is the high and solemn duty of government to guard and protect the people's rights so reserved from all enforcements." So if you want to do your trustee responsibility and honor your oath,
we will have Chantel Mack address the audience. Then we'll have Lucia Valentine next. So without further ado, Chantel Mack for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. I have a loud voice, so. I thank you so much for hosting this. It's really important that we all get to say our piece. I also want to thank Delegate Anders for being here and for representing many of us who feel the same way. I'm definitely not anti-data center, but I do want to see our protections preserved, and that is not seemingly being done right now. So I have 4 separate questions with regard to Penzance and also QTS in Kearneysville. I understand that there are fiber optic cables and infrastructure that's already been installed along the 81 corridor, going back all the way to 2021. So I guess one of my questions from a planning perspective is, why not move the sportsplex and let's put the data centers where it's already zoned for industrial? Why are we moving a sportsplex over there when we could have it in a rural park setting? We could put the data centers over in the industrially zoned area. Just seems to make planning sense. My second question is, it is my understanding that the QTS data center development project in Kearneysville was approved prior to passage of House Bill 2014. And therefore it is managed at the local level via the Berkeley County Commission and the Jefferson County Planning Commission, as well as the Berkeley County Planning Commission. So my question, I guess, here is, what are you seeing with regards to the infrastructure of the QTS system, and how is it going to be cooled? Specifically, would they utilize an open or closed loop system? And can you give us some information on how you guys at the local level will be able to handle the QTS system? While the state has provided, for my understanding, 5% of expected revenues from data centers in the county to come back in the form of economic enhancements and towards economic grid stabilization and security, according to some elementary calculations that I've done with some friends, literally that's as far as it went, it doesn't seem that that would be nearly sufficient in state support to be able to handle the potential for the costs to us. We're getting numbers like $2 to $4 million in state funded support, while the costs could possibly go upwards of $70 million. Do you guys have a better read on these numbers, and can you enlighten us on that? And finally, since even closed loop systems are a threat to clean water, as they use ethylene glycol, which is antifreeze, to cool the water, and noting that there have been several leaks of these chemicals, and QTS is in your direct control, what is your plan to protect the water and environment? Thank you.
We have Christopher Breeze move closer to the stage. We hear from Lucia Valentine for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lucia Valentine, and I want to thank the commissioners for being here this evening and hear our concerns, and thank you to everyone who took the time out of their Friday evening to be here as well. I'm here as a concerned citizen, a legislative advocate, and a candidate for the West Virginia House of Delegates in District 97, which includes parts of Jefferson and Berkeley counties. I was working at the state capitol as an environmental lobbyist when House Bill 2014 passed last year on the last night of session in the final hours of the session. I, along with many others, had major concerns with the constitutionality of this bill, the lack of local control, the lack of safeguards around water use, and local tax revenue flowing out of our communities and to the state. Unfortunately, we are now seeing this legislation play out and what happens when communities are left out of decisions that shape the future of their home. And we all see the Eastern Panhandle is changing, and it's changing fast, and we need responsible development that balances creating jobs and protecting our region's water quality and quantity, agricultural land, and rural landscape. House Bill 4983 was introduced this session, which is the Data Center Rules Bill to create the framework for House Bill 24. And since there is no permit for water withdrawals in West Virginia, we tried to pass an amendment to require companies to report how much water they will use and whether or not that would have an impact on existing users. The compromise amendment that eventually was agreed upon in the Senate now requires developers to address whether their projects create an inordinate burden on water access. And this is a good first step, but it does not go far enough. Unfortunately, communities do not have access to that information because there's a total lack of transparency under House Bill 2014. So it's really crucial for our local elected officials to advocate on behalf of the community at all levels of government to ensure that these concerns are addressed. And I've been working on these issues at the legislature for the past several years to push for protections, and if elected, would continue fighting for what's best for our community every step of the way, because our communities know what's best and what we need. And so West Virginia has been taken from time and time again, and we don't want data centers to be our next extraction story. So my questions are, what information do you have from the developer on what the water impacts would be on the county and the region? We already see creeks running dry, wells running dry, farmers losing their water supply. And how can communities find out any information about what the actual impacts of these facilities are going to be? So thank you very much.
Kelsey Roses who's closest to the stage, and we will allow Christopher Breeze to give a speech not to exceed 3 minutes. When you're ready.
Yeah, my name is Christopher Breeze. I moved to Berkeley County. I moved to Berkeley County 46 years ago. My first home was in Beddington. My family was in Beddington. And since then, I have seen farms, dairy farms, orchards, all of them disappearing. They're being pushed over by bulldozers. But that's not my point. My point is that there's two things here that concern me. Is first of all, eminent domain is supposed to be for projects that benefit the public, not benefit a private organization. I mean, we're talking eminent domain is for highways, for bridges, for dams. Okay. The second thing is that I'm very concerned about the fact that all of this legislation bypasses all of our democracy. And my opinion is that I think the Berkeley County Council, as a group, should file a lawsuit against the legislature for passing these bills when it's not legal. I mean, you can't come in and say, well, we're going to take your property and we're going to do this, and we're not going to have to pay taxes, and we're going to bring in brand new equipment that's going to be assessed as junk, so you don't have to pay taxes on it. My taxes on my house go up every year. My taxes on my house go up every year. These people should be paying their fair share of taxes. And Mr. Gokenauer, I've known you for years, and I think you and the rest of the county council should be getting a good lawyer and file a lawsuit against this, if nothing else, to hold them up and maybe get some ground, get some grip on what's actually happening, and not just throw your hands up and say, well, this is what the legislature said. I know you live here and this is your home, and please help the rest of us with our homes and our futures and our kids' futures and put a stop to this. Thank you.
Can I have a Carl from Martinsburg who's closer to the stage? I don't want to put your last name. And then we will have Chelsea Rose.
Chelsea Rogers.
Rogers.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. That makes a lot more sense. Chelsea Rogers for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chelsea Rogers. Hi, everybody. My name is Chelsea Rogers. I'm a lifelong West Virginian, and I grew up from age 7 until my mid-20s on Scrabble Road, where my mom and my dad and my brother and my nephew still live. As the crow flies, this data center will be about a mile from their house. First of all, thank you guys for being here. I know this isn't easy hearing all this, but gosh, we sure appreciate being able to express it. I know we've heard a lot already about the environmental concerns of this data center and how it will possibly impact not only the Eastern Panhandle, but also how it may impact the people living close to the proposed site. I just want to share some things that I hope I can get through because I cry way too much, that concern me on a personal level. Growing up on Scrabble Road was a delight. We had 20 acres to roam, countless cedar trees, and tall grasses to hide in, and fresh, clean air to breathe. My dad taught me and my siblings about the beauty of the night sky. The stars were innumerable in the night sky of Scrabble Road. Looking up at all the stars and planets and galaxies above me instilled in me a firm belief that, number one, there is something greater than us. Number two, how tiny I felt next to the infinite heavens. And most importantly, number three, that the vastness of the night sky created an immense respect and overwhelming awe of the natural beauty all around me. And it made me realize that I am a part of this incredible world and I have to do my part to take care of it. There are so many unknowns about this proposed data center, but I am fearful that the light pollution will muddy the skies and blur the heavens for all the people who live close by. And what will that do to the next little girl who needs to experience the awesomeness of the night sky so she feels inspired and powerful? On Scrabble Road, my dad also taught me and my siblings about the flora and fauna that live with us on our land. He would talk regularly to the owls and they would talk back to him. My dad would teach us about the trees and how to identify them. I grew up learning and understanding that the natural world is our friend and it takes care of us, that it shelters us, provides sustenance, and exists for so many purposes outside of the human race. The videos I've watched and the talks that I've listened to in my attempts to understand what the ramifications of this data center will be share overwhelmingly that the noise that it produces as it stores and cools data is just absolutely invasive. How terrifying to me it is that our peaceful 20 acres of land where I learned so much on the quiet of our walks will possibly be overcome by insistent invasive noise all the time. How will that affect all the animals that live on the property? How will that affect the trees that communicate through their roots? Will they be able to hear each other anymore? Will they be able to understand what is happening? On Scrabble Road, my mom taught us all the importance of peace and stillness. She taught us...
Ms. Rogers.
My name is Carl Imhoff. I've lived in Hedgesville for about 25 years. I got a couple questions. What has the commissioners done to fight HB 2014? And have they looked into challenging it under the West Virginia's Constitution, especially the home rule section? That's one of my things. I pay an electric rate of 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Industry in West Virginia pays 7.5 cents. Okay, data centers are considered industry. All right, now when they have to add all the electric lines to bring the power in, they don't pay for it. They spread that out across all the ratepayers. So your electric bill is going to go up. The same goes for water. Okay. They need purified water to cool these things. After that water is purified by the county, it has to be treated. It's now wastewater. Your costs there are going to go up. West Virginia has a long history of our politicians not looking out for the people and selling out to outside interests. It is the purpose of government to protect the people. It has no other reason to exist. Okay. So I'm just wondering what our politicians are going to do to protect the people. Also, remember Blair Mountain.
And then after her will be Amber Stokes. Carrie Linger for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. To the commission, you must now, if this data center is built, consider zoning laws to stop everything else from taking over and to protect the current residents of West Virginia in Berkeley County. It's not something that I wanted to see, but if this data center gets built, we still need our resources. To the audience members, let me tell you something. I am so proud to see so many of you here tonight. We are a community that can come together, that does not have to be divided by anything else. I implore you to look around this room tonight and to look at your neighbors and notice something. We have failed our younger generation, and we have failed to teach them about all of the disasters, not the hurricanes, not the weather-related ones, but I'm talking about Love Canal. I'm talking 3 Mile Island. I'm talking about Sago Mine disaster. I am talking about those disasters that were created by companies that came in and took everything from the community, including lives. And we need them to know about those disasters and why we are fighting so hard to save the community, the water, the land, and the air for them. Data centers may be needed, but that technology, if you look everything up, it will be outdated within about 5 to 7 years after that building is built. They already have the technology that can carry terabytes and petabytes. It's already there. We did not focus on the future. We focused on what other countries were hurrying up and doing, and we didn't focus and put our money in the future. And now we're set with this. Please prepare yourselves. If this data center gets built, start testing your water today. Start testing your water pressure today. Start testing the air quality around your house today, and start testing the noise levels, because we will be a force to be reckoned with if they damage our community.
Or the podium, Jason Brickbrock, and for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes, Amber Stokes.
Good evening. I am a lifelong 58-year resident of Berkeley County. I am a 30-year employee of Berkeley County Schools. I am here for my family, my child, and the children that I have taught over the last 30 years in this county that will eventually be running our county and living on the land that we leave them. There is not much transparency on the Carneysville Data Center that I've seen. All I know is that it happened before HB 2014. I am 3 blocks from there. The noise pollution, the air pollution, the light pollution, the environmental impact, and the wildlife that I will probably no longer see I had a big speech, but a lot of people have touched on most of the things, so I'm a little out of sorts here. I'm trying to not include those things. What is taking place with the Carneysville data center? Who is collecting all the data for these data centers about our air quality and all of that? Because if their company's working for the data centers, we definitely can't trust them. How will this affect my property value? How is this going to affect our taxes? I know for a fact Potomac Edison has already proposed a 20% hike. So if our electric goes up, I can promise you, your water bill will too. What is the percentage of the revenue from this center that's going to stay in Berkeley County? Has anyone been through Loudoun County, Virginia, and actually seen the hot mess there? We know there are already 3 data centers on the list to be placed in Berkeley County. To touch on what another woman said earlier about AI and what it can do and will do you realize that these AI data centers, once they're up and running, they can shut our bank accounts down? You know, we've always had the motto, wild and wonderful, until justice came in and changed it to open for business. We may as well go ahead and just change our motto back to open for business. What I'm going to say to everyone here, we're here tonight. This is the beginning of the fight, people. Be in it to the long haul. Thank you.
John, Steve, Marina, we closer to the stage, and then we have Jason Fritfroth for his speech, not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hey everyone. I'm 27, born and raised here, and this isn't okay. Sorry, can you hear me now? Okay, cool. So yeah, I've been here 27 years, and everything that they plan to do with this data center goes against what West Virginia itself stands for. They don't care about our health. They don't care about the health of our animals. They're just going to have to listen miles away from the data center every single second of the day and the night. It's going to affect every single person for miles. Going to Spring Mills, the Walmart, you're going to hear it. It's a constant thump. They do not care. They are going to spend, they lobby constantly. They will spend however much they can. And the only way to stop it is if every single person here continues to keep fighting for that.
Yes.
So please, no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, all of us are neighbors. We all care about each other. So please, after today, continue this. Get organized. Go into groups. Do not let this happen. $64 billion worth of data centers has been stopped across the country. This is a $5 billion, from last I've heard, $5 billion. $10 billion ones have been shut down because of people organizing. So please, I beg of you, as someone who's been born and raised here and cares about every single one of you, cares about your family, cares about your pets. That's all I ask. Just please keep fighting.
We have Susan D. Marino, also move closer to the stage, as we have John for his speech, not to exceed 3 minutes.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm also a Berkeley County resident, and I've been here for probably about close to 25 years or so. And so, you know, I feel obviously my kids went to this school, and I guess I missed the memo where everybody's giving speeches and they're all really good so far, so thank you. I just prepared some questions and I'm scribbling while everybody's posing questions and bringing points up to revamp what I had to say, so bear with me here. So I'm just gonna ask questions. I thought there was gonna be a little more back and forth here, but I guess not. I'm just gonna ask some questions and that's my speech. So when exactly did the commission find out about the data center plans? You guys said you just found out about it on Thursday. I find that very hard to believe considering that we knew that this bill was passed back in late 2024, as Lucia Valentine just stated. So the community has known about this for a while. My research actually indicates that the planning for this data center in Berkeley County goes back to 2023. So clearly this has been a long thing, probably earlier, but this is a plan that's been in the works for a while, all right, lining everybody up. I'm really shocked that you all picked this particular spot, considering that it floods every year horribly.
We didn't pick anything.
All right, well, somebody did. Also, since, how is it that the commission only hears, the commission who's in charge of planning, charge of approvals, permits, roads, right? Approving projects. Why is it that you're only finding, as you say, out about this bill now? You guys, yes, the 2014 did strip a lot of your authority, local authority away, but it didn't take it all right? And so I urge you to not be a rubber stamp on this. You do have the ability to pass resolutions to oppose it. You still have that ability. You also still have the ability to restore local authority and bring back local control, which is where we all went wrong in this whole business. So I urge you, and I think everyone in this room demands you to act and do that, all right? We need a restoration of local control badly so this kind of crap doesn't continue to happen. Did you sign NDA agreements? And if so, with who? Because the reason I'm asking about this is because it seems like there's a lot of people who are supposed to be in the know nothing. And that's really disturbing. So that brings me to my next question. What company actually is, now we know, we talked about the data center construction. What company actually is going to be the one running the data center? We want to know. Don't tell me you don't, because you do. All right. The other thing is, oh, wait, what?
That's the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we have Joanna Gregory move to the stage, and we are allowing Susan to speak for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you, community members. I'm a longtime resident of Berkeley County, 30 years in Berkeley County and Falling Waters, and also I live in the Scrabble-Beddington area. I drive past this field every day. It's a beautiful location. I've seen surveyors on this site already. I've seen the green flags. Like the person just before me said, they've been planning this for a long time, because the minute Mr. Morrissey announced this, what do you know? These guys are already on site and it's already underway. It's not this just happened deal. This has been a long time surreptitious thing, all done in secret. Why? Because they know we're not going to approve of it. Because what is it doing? It's stripping away our community rights. It's stripping away the livelihood of our future of our children. It's stripping away our livelihoods here and now. We've got a brand new community, whole development area in Spring Mills. And what's it going to do to those property values? We've got all this brand new construction, right? Everybody coming in here because it's a great place to live, plummeting their value, plummeting their livelihoods that they're working hard every day to work for. So I think it's very disingenuous for the, very disingenuous for the governor to be saying that this is good for West Virginia. He won't even step foot in here to see what's going on. So, I think we should have a town hall and call the main offensive perpetrator here, Mr. Morrissey, to come see how we feel about his good for West Virginia project. It's shady, it's very shady, and we already know we can't trust him. Okay, so he's proven that. And to our commissioners, if you're actually against this and you're actually with your community here, are you going to go to Charleston with all of us and represent us here on this? Because if you're with us, we've all been snookered, right? And it's just not cool. So when can we have that town hall? And I feel like there's a lot of doublespeak also about whether this is like a private company or a public utility, kind of good for the people type of thing. But I want to piggyback on the previous question of who is going to be occupying this. Is it going to be Palantir? Is it going to be Meta? Is it going to be Department of War? Who's going to be running this facility? What are they doing? I mean, I don't think it's a far stretch to say it's overreach and a possible surveillance state scenario being oppressed upon us. And you can't call it representation. It's oppression. You know, a lot of people have mentioned a lot of the other major concerns. Water, 5 million gallons of water use per day. That's like drinking water. And Morrissey tried to pretend it was going to be coming out of our sewage treatment plants. Give me a break. And so also to the commissioners, I just want to ask a direct question. Have you been paid or been promised payment or received any other associated financial compensation personally or in your position as commissioners in connection with this project, directly or indirectly through LLCs, government means, private payments, or other avenues? And who's paying Mr. Morrissey? Thank you.
Once again, to reiterate the rules, please allow the speakers to speak and not to shout out things during their speech. It takes their time. So, sir, if you continue to speak out of turn or take time away from other individuals in our community, we're going to ask you to leave. You can leave. People are respectful. We're going to ask that people are respectful of others' time so that everyone can be heard. So, you have Mr. Gregory to speak, and Tim McBreedy, we'll have you move closer to the stage to speak afterwards. Joanne, can you speak?
I am Joanna Gregory, and I live above the Beddington Falls. I've been down there for 50 years, and I'm one of 4 of the houses that this data center will be surrounding. I have paid flood insurance for many years. This is how a data center will be built in a flood zone. The stone house down there at the Beddington Bridge down there, that house who's now, the Nice Wonders live there. That house in the 1936 flood, they came out of the 2nd story of that house in a boat. So that's how high the water can get down there. And we deal with flooding every few years. My other concern is our wells. We have shallow wells, me and my neighbor, and we're concerned when they do all the digging, what happens to our wells and our homes. My other concern is there's 2 family cemeteries on this property, and are they going to be protected? The road surrounding us, the Beddington, the Berkeley station, at that bridge, there's a big hump as you go over there. At the Beddington Falls, that is a horrible, it's there with the bank and the swerve of that hill. 1 mile from where this data center is going to build is a 1-lane tunnel that leads to 2 urgent cares, a housing development, and 4 schools, and across the road, I-81. We certainly can do better than a 1-lane tunnel. That's probably all I have concern. I'm concerned for me and my neighbors. I thank you for listening.
We'll have Joseph Hayden next. If you can move closer to the stage. Tim, speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Tim McBreedy. I've got a whole lot of questions. One of them is this data center going to get price breaks for the electricity? you know? There's probably going to be some kind of deal that they work out, and we'll be able to find out if they are, you know? How much can we expect our, electricity rates to rise? Because we all know that they're going to rise. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure for the electrical system to be built. You know, who's paying for all that? Is the data center going to pay for all that? More than likely not. It's all going to be us residents is going to pay for all that. Yeah. Let me see. What about wastewater contamination? You know, all this water that they're going to use, 5 million gallons, all of that's going to have to be treated. What about the pollution of it all? This data center is probably only going to be here for a short while. What happens if the water at the ground site is contaminated? Then it becomes a brown site. Who's going to pay for all that? There is, is the data center going to get tax breaks from the county? We shouldn't be paying for any of this stuff. The property values, of our houses are going to go down. Anybody that lives close to it, nobody's going to want to live there. Who's going to want to hear all that noise? So you have all that light pollution. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that nobody's going to want to deal with. What is the benefit for us county residents, if any, that we will ever see? There's only going to be minimal jobs once this place is built. Who's going to be there? Security and probably people that do maintenance. That's not much. There's probably going to be a lot of construction jobs, but it's going to be short term. There is not going to be many jobs that are going to be high paying at all for this place once it's built. And will there be any more town hall meetings about this? Or is this the only one that's going to be here? That's all I got.
We have Donna Kramer move closer to the stage as we hear from Joseph Hayden for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I'm a little bit nervous. Most of the points that I had very astutely written down have been touched on by some of the other wonderful people here, and some of the people have done a lot of studying on some of this stuff. One of the things that I have been perusing here is a public utility. I assume you gentlemen up there and the rest of you people out here know what a public utility, the definition of that is. A public utility is an organization that maintains the infrastructure for public service. How in the heck is a data center that I'm going to end up having to pay higher electrical bills for and have my groundwater messed up somehow falling under the definition of a utility and getting breaks like that? That is a bunch of garbage. Anybody else that walked in here and got rained on when you're coming in here, I'm already getting taxed because it has a temerity to rain on my place, which is ridiculous, by the way. And I know we weren't going to go there, but everybody else in here, trust me, gentlemen, everybody else in here feels the exact same way. And I will tell you some of my basic concerns as far as infrastructure in this place, because we all know this is a done deal. It was done in secret. They've been laying these green flags out for utility lines and stuff for a long time. Everybody that's in the know knew it was going to be going on, right? All of a sudden, oh my goodness, look what they threw on us. Everybody knew this was coming. That's a bunch of garbage. Now, let me tell you, one of the things that's going to be going on, too, is I live out on Greensburg Road. I live in a over 100-year-old house out there, and it's right next to the road because they used to use horses and carriages. Them roads ain't going to stand up to all the construction utilities and stuff, construction equipment coming through there. I already have to dodge potholes constantly. I'm going to be paying more for electricity because everybody in here knows who's going to pay for the grid to be expanded to pump the electricity over there to them before they get their supposed on-site electrical production. This is going nowhere but down. And everybody in here already knows it's a done deal.
The problem is you guys need to go up there or get a hold of somebody and mount a constitutional challenge against this. How in the world are you supposed to take the local authority, tell the local authority they have no say, and the local persons, they have no say over what goes on here? Eminent domain can be used for public utilities. That is not a public utility, gentlemen. That is a lie. And there needs to be legal action taken and a constitutional challenge on this put forth. Oh, by the way, Morrissey is from right over in Jefferson County. He ought to have been here.
We have Clark Catlett moving closer to the stage. We have Donna Kramer for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
A man in the blue suit might be the next governor if he stops this.
Well, most of my questions are the ones that's already been raised here. But, you know, I have a well, and yeah, I'm close to Carneysville. And we just had, you know, the Potomac with the problems we just had with that. And now we're going to turn around and we're going to lose all this water. And, you know, what are we going to do? Who do we sue when we have no well water left? Who do we go after then? And as far as the electric bills go, I don't know about you, but I had almost a $500 electric bill for December. And I used my lights, my Christmas lights, 3 days. That was it. That was it. And also the noise pollution. I just can't imagine somebody living nearby. How many miles out will people hear all that noise? And not to mention the 24/7, the noise, and then the lights, the extreme light, you know. And I don't understand why they're not using some type of renewable energy to try to power up these places. You know, instead they're leaving it up to the homeowners to go put solar panels on their houses and stuff to try to make ends meet each month, which is not right. It's not fair to us. And there should be no tax breaks, whatever, given to these people. These are billionaires and millionaires that are taking over our areas. And this eminent domain, I just can't believe that you actually said that maybe you have to put it down as farmland or whatever. I mean, my God, I only live on 7 1/3 acres. I don't think I have to put farmland down. But you know, they were talking about putting a West Virginia Route 9 bypass on the end of my property. So yeah, I mean, we were worried to death over that as well. And I'm just 5 minutes from Martinsburg. So the longevity of this, you know, I think we do need some zoning in West Virginia. I live beside a, I tell you, it looks like car parts and old cars and all this stuff beside me. There's not a thing I can do about it. And I've been lucky to have 17 years of peace and quiet. But now I get to look at this mess every day driving in and out of my driveway. And anybody wants to see it, come down on Cackley Way and you'll see what I'm talking about. And just, you know, I think we need the zoning, and we definitely need to organize, because this is not the end of all this. But thank you.
Closer to the stage. And now we hear Clark Catlett for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
All right, guys, I'm not a speaker, I'm an accountant. My name is Clark Catlett, I'm a local resident. My background's in military construction, energy management, and facility management from the Guard base. So if I want to know something, I won't watch CNN or any other news network. I'll call a friend. So I called a friend. He's a nuclear power engineer. And I said, hey, Rich, they want to put this data center in where I live. I said, can you answer some questions? He said, yeah, sure. Yeah, Clark, go ahead. He said, before you start, he said, how big's the data center? And I said, it's 1.9 million square feet. And he said, well, that's strange. That's a hyperscale data center. A standard data center is 1 million square feet. Sorry, I get nervous in front of people. Anyhow, so I said, He says, a closed loop or open loop? I said, I don't know. He said, well, 1.9 million square feet data center would use approximately 1.4 to 4 million gallons of water per day. I said, how about a closed loop system? He said, well, did he use evaporators? I said, I don't know what that is, but he said, it's called a adiabatic sprayers. And basically, to cool the system down, it has to put evaporators and the water cools through evaporation. He said that, I'm losing my voice here. He said that would use about 1.4 million to 4.1 million gallons of water per day. I said, how about a closed loop system? And he said, no, that was an open loop system, sorry. Closed loop system could use 1 million to 3 million gallons of water a day. He said if you use cooling towers, those would use even more water. He said, what type of power are they using? I said, I think they're using grid power. He said, okay, let's see here. I said, what about the power consumption per day of a 1.9 million square foot hyperscale facility? He said between 100 million watts per day to 250 million watts per day. Now, if they run their generators, could be up to 500 million watts per day. He said that could power between 50 to 500,000 homes. Let's see what else I have here. Oh, the biggest concern I have, and again, I'm not against data centers. Sorry about that.
And we're going to hear from Andy Painter for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Five generations of my family have called Berkeley County home. My wife and I live 2 miles from a proposed data center on the farm I grew up on. I believe my dad worked on some of the dining tables for your firefighters when you were in Martinsburg, Eddie. Land we purchased from my mother and my father after, land we purchased from my mother after my father passed. I recognize it's a blessing to follow in his footsteps as a steward of that land. Since many do not get the same opportunity, that legacy and blessing are why I'm here tonight. Many have raised the same points, but I must reiterate my concerns on the technical rigor and transparency with which this project is being evaluated. I want to be clear that the risks I raised may have already been addressed in the technical proposal from the developer, but we have no way to know because the state has cut us out. In the spirit of Reagan, we must trust but verify. To me, the most critical risk is water, since the knock-on effects of getting this aspect wrong are expensive for residents in the form of new wells and hauled water, and negative effects to the aquifer may be long-lasting or permanent. Sinkholes, subsidence, reduced recharge capacity, and altered flow patterns. It could take years or may never come back to what they were. It is imperative the public is informed how much water will be used, where it will come from, and how the wastewater will be managed. The same applies to the infrastructure. If upgrades are needed for fire response or the electrical grid, those costs must be borne by the developer, not the community. Should load shedding become necessary in the future to maintain the stability of the electrical grid, a facility like this must never come before residents. Noise and light impacts must also be addressed, especially where standards already exist in county and state ordinances. The mitigation tools and technologies exist in the form of silencers and barriers for noise and directional and dimmable lighting. We just need to require they are used. I pray my technical concerns are baseless and that these risks have sufficiently been mitigated by the developer and the state. And I can be certain of three things. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. No one of us is as smart as all of us. A government which works in secrecy and isolation directly violates a core tenet of the American ethos that a government must be of the people, by the people, and for the people. The state of West Virginia will argue they are legally within their rights to keep the details of this project private under the provisions of HB 2014, but given the complexity of this project and the disparity between the best case and the worst case outcome, it is not responsible governance and arguably un-American to operate in this manner.
We must demand that the state adopt a cooperative, transparent approach and work with its people to arrive at a solution that works for everyone, rather than pandering to out-of-state corporations who will likely flee once tax deals are due to expire or advances in technology render these eyesores obsolete. I've got a few seconds. I just want to bring up historic structures and does HB 2014 override farm protection, because that language isn't very clear and it just came up while we're here. Thank you.
As we hear from Katie McInnes for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Katie McInnes. I'm one of your neighbors globally, but not really locally. I'm from Morgan County. I live in Great Capen, and I'm addressing you not only because I didn't vote for the guys behind me, and nor can I, but also because you voted for them, and until we made a fuss, he was on his phone. Yes, you do. You can do the exact same thing with data centers. The day after the data center was announced on February 27th, the day after, we created a Facebook group that has grown to 3,000 people in less than 3 weeks. 4 days after this thing was announced, Brooke and I and like 5 other community residents went out to the Berkeley County Planning Commission and spoke to Mr. Hardy right here. Mr. Hardy's tone has changed since that date, but he is still not promising you any solutions or any answers at all. He has known about this data center for months. All of our elected officials have known about it for months. And what happens in Berkeley County matters for my county, it matters for Hampshire County, it matters for Mineral County. This town hall was meant to pacify you. They aren't gonna do shit. They aren't gonna do anything until you get them to do something. Every single one of you came here tonight, you gave up your time, you gave up your thoughts, you paid attention while he was on his phone. You have to keep going every day. He is not gonna bring a case on your behalf, and he is not interested in it until you make him. People in Tucker County have been fighting this for years. They've gotten outside resources, outside funding, outside grants. They've gotten reports from Harvard to disprove what their elected officials told them about data centers are supposed to be good for them. We have to do the same thing here, and nothing less will make us stop. The people who sold their land for this data center did so to avoid eminent domain. They are our allies in this. They are not our enemies. The people who were quiet when Governor Morsi made them, maybe that's Commissioner Hardy, maybe not. They are our allies when we make it easier for them to speak up. Governor Morsi has already directly called people in my county, threatening their jobs for speaking out about this. Their jobs. That is crazy. That is crazy. And we don't even have a plan in our county. I can't even imagine what is going on here. Every time someone comes up to me through the Facebook group, to Brooke, Chrissy, and others here tonight, when they ask, what can I do to help? The first thing we do is warn them that there is retribution coming from the governor's office for any action here. And that retribution will continue to quiet people and silence people and make your voices not heard as they were silenced under HB 2014 until you get more.
That the comments are germane to data centers. You want to speak about the data centers, you want to hear your thoughts, you want to make sure that everyone you want to make sure that we get as many people through. I don't necessarily have enough time. And now we hear from Dr. Stein for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I'm a farmer. I have a farm. My family bought the farm from the family that got their deed from Lord Fairfax in 1732. When you buy land and buy a farm, it comes with water rights. My water rights can be traced back to 1732. That predates all these ordinances, all these laws that are trying to give away my water rights. I intend to file a motion to have an injunction to stop all construction on data centers in West Virginia. That are in process at this point. Again, I intend to file an injunction to protect my water rights.
Yes.
I apologize for being so selfish, but.
And then we also have David Jackson, who's closest to the stage. Gwen Powers for his speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. I have a tough act to follow after listening to all of you guys. I've been out there on social media trying to educate you all, and I'm sure you've all done your own research. I felt like I was back in college doing a college paper again. But my speech that I had originally planned is a little bit more personal now to me. So this is not the speech that I had originally wanted to talk about, but it also is impactful. So in Berkeley County, we've already seen the effects of the extremely fast growth that we've had. Our electricity rates has risen significantly. My electric bill was $800 last year, and I decided to go with solar panels because I was not getting them done after Trump had, did away with the green energy tax credits. And I knew this was the only chance that I'd be able to afford to do it. And I did, and I'm very thankful that I did now, because now I'm scared to death. 20% increase in your electric, who can afford that right now?
Exactly.
Who can afford that? I can't afford that. I'm not even gonna look at my paper anymore. I make one of the top pays in the state of West Virginia, and I barely scrape by. I write estimates on people's vehicles, okay? I have elderly women who've lost their husbands, who are on a fixed income, that are crying to me. I go home at night crying because I know that they can't even afford to buy a new vehicle or even an old beater just to get around to their doctor's appointments. And these people right here, up here, the ones that you all voted for, and they don't care. They don't see what I see. I write for doctors. I write for attorneys. I write for people in the Senate. I write for every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the world. That's the people I work with. I work with everybody in the community, and I see that everybody is hurting. Everybody is hurting. We cannot afford any increase whatsoever in our water bills. We cannot afford an increase in our electric bills. This is not right. We need a moratorium, and it has to be done. I will leave you with this right now. If we do not slow down now, we won't be debating possibilities later. We will be living with consequences we cannot deal with. This is not something temporary. Their buildings might be temporary, but this is going to affect our environment forever, and we will never get it back. I love West Virginia. I love being here. I'm a farm girl myself, and I do not want to see it go, and I want to have my clean water.
This is the main 2 data centers. As we move forward. So we also have. It's all Germany. Who's closest to the stage. As we hear from David Jackson for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you. My question that starts with, what zoning changes and variances are being requested for this data center, and who approved them? That's my first question. How does this align with the county's long-term development and comprehensive plan for its building and its environment? How much electricity will this data center consume at full capacity for each one that's being proposed for Berkeley County? Will this strain the local grid and increase outage risks for the residents in the county? Are the upgrades to the substation and transmission lines, who's going to be footing the bill for that? Is the state going to do this? Is the developer going to do it? Or are you going to stick the county residents with the bill? Well, will the residents and small businesses see higher utility costs as a result of this approval? Sorry. They're predicting up to 5 million gallons of water a day, or 1.8 billion gallons a year being used for each data center, not all of them. How will this usage directly impact drought resilience? Whoops, keep pressing the wrong button. Sorry, folks. Here we go. Drought resilience or existing water supplies. What are the requirements for water recycling and conservation that you're putting in place? What do you propose for their words, sludge, when they discharge their water every day? Will you allow them to dump it in the ground like other states caught them doing? Or will you put it through the water treatment plants that aren't made to handle that type of chemical? What will be the noise pollution and impact for decibels for the cooling system being managed by the center? What measures are you going to put in place to protect local ecosystems and wildlife? What tax incentive or abatements are being offered to the developers to build in Berkeley County? What's the projected tax revenue after the incentives expire? How do these benefits compare to alternative land uses? How will the construction of ongoing operations impact local traffic? Are road expansions and repairs needed, and who's going to foot the bill for those? Will there be increased heavy traffic in the residential areas and on our local roads? Now, this goes to the fire department and the sheriff's department. What fire risks associated with these facilities, and how will they be mitigated? What additional hazmat training will be provided for the fire department and the sheriff's department should an accident occur at these facilities? What happens during extended power outages or system failures at these facilities?
Thank you for your time. We have slight technical difficulties.
Want me to wait?
To run time while we set it up over here, but I'll still be able to give you guys 3 minutes. Before we hear from Tim Matson, we have Isabella Kinsella, who's closer to the stage, and Tim Matson, you are free to speak for 3 minutes.
Thank you, and also everybody for coming today. I'm a Berkeley County resident, veteran, and I want to say some things that lobbyists and developers often view public hearings and zoning boards and local environmental protections as friction or red tape. By moving the decision-making power of Berkeley County Commission to the state government, they effectively silence the people who would usually show up to meetings like this, complain about noise, water use, electric bills, and traffic. The filter ensures that if a developer wants to build a massive, loud AI center, they only need 1 yes from the state, or also only a couple people you need to pay off on your campaigns. A dozen yeses to local neighbors. Here's the levy trap. This is where your financial loss becomes really real for you. The bill only because the state only takes 70% of the new tax revenue, the county doesn't have new money to pay for those things. As a result, when the school board needs a new school or has to fix a roof or a classroom, they can't take a look at the AI giant for the full bill. Instead, they have to come back to you and ask for new and renewed school levy. You end up paying for the growth while the state uses the data center money to lower income taxes for hundreds of people. But as we saw, our electric bills are going to go up. So where is that income tax deduction going to? To the electric company. So here's the two-faced bottom line. The state is essentially treating Berkeley County as an industrial sacrifice zone, a place with the right power lines and a flat land that can be used to benefit the state's overall padded stats. Even if the local residents end up with more noise, less water, higher utility costs, and the commission let it all happen. And I'm going to tell you how they let it all happen. They said they went up there and fought. Do you realize that all of you pay over $500,000 for a taxpayer-funded lobbyist? All right, where was the lobbyist lobbying for Berkeley County? They were up there too, all right? So you can't tell me that this lobby couldn't even talk to our own delegates and senators to vote no? We had one guy had the balls, pardon me, and the spine to vote no. The rest of them voted yes. And we already know why. One of them, both of them, but one of them said this is going to be good for Berkeley County. So lawsuits and everything ain't going to do a darn thing. But I'll tell you, you know what's going to be good for Berkeley County? I'm running against you, Eddie Gokenauer, and you know it. And you know what? And you know what? That's going to be good for Berkeley County if I have the honor to remove you. So, with all this money we're supposedly getting from this AI thing, right? They still want to raise your sales tax. So what are you hiding that you have to raise our sales tax, but we're getting all this money? Think about it, people. Think about it. They knew months ahead of time, and now we get a meeting. Thank you all very much.
So can we also have Dan Marcus move to closer to the stage, but Isabel Catella, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Okay, I want to start off with the fact that I am 19 and I am struggling to find a job. And we're going to get rid of a bunch of jobs due to this AI stuff. Also, I want to start off with, I'm a college student in my sophomore year of college, and we're not allowed to use AI. That's understandable. But why is half of our sources and resources AI already? Also, I did a paper back in October for my English class. Did you know that AI, it can be manipulated? It can be manipulated by our own government. And that's a proven fact by multiple different studies. Okay, so I am originally from Virginia. I grew up in Henrico County. There is a big data center right in Highland Springs. Anyone who even okayed it has now regret their decisions. And I don't know, and if that doesn't say anything, I don't know what will. I would also like to say that y'all had the right to tell the county what was going on. I am the daughter of a school board member from the county I grew up in, so I've seen the behind the scenes of a bunch of different things. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Can we have Peggy Bowers move closer to the stage, and then we have you, Mr. Marcus, for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for taking our voices tonight. However, I do want to tell you, I'm not originally from West Virginia. I'm from Western New York. I lived through Love Canal. I was there as a child. I wasn't physically on Love Canal. I was 90 miles from it. But I saw the horrific damage that done psychologically and physically to my neighbors, okay? So let me ask you this question. Where's the EPA, the West Virginia EPA in this? You know, the Environmental Protection Agency? Have you guys even reached out to them? Has your legal counsel looked at the House Bill 2014 to give you an understanding of what's in there and what's our constitutional rights being taken away? To be able to defend us. They work for us. They don't work for you. You work for us. Okay? You guys keep forgetting that. Okay? You guys keep forgetting you work for everybody out here. All right? Where was legal when that bill was passed? You were up there on April 9th looking at the bill of 2025. It said it right there in the Wheeling Inquirer or whatever, intelligence. Mr. The President, Eddie, I can't say names, okay? However, you were up there. You didn't see Berkeley County's cut. Okay, you didn't see that kind of stuff. Where is it at for Berkeley County? How much before that did you know? How much were the delegates informing you? How much? Okay, we're on that side. We thank you for taking this town hall. Is this going to be quarterly? Or do we have to go up to do the county commission at your building? Okay? How often do you get to talk to the people at the people's house? The commissioner's house is not the people's house. Out here at every single school is the people's house. We thank you for coming out here and doing it. But back again, where has EPA been involved in this whole matter? Okay? We're talking water. We're talking air. Haven't heard one thing from anybody up here, not even a delegate. Not one single thing. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is you got a $4 billion data center coming in. It might be able to be stopped, but it might not be able to be. But when that occupants leave, you got $4 billion of revenue that you're not going to get no more. Everybody out here is going to be paying that $4 billion. Okay? You guys keep forgetting that. Y'all keep forgetting that because new revenue won't be coming in. I thank you for the time.
Moving closer to the stage as well. I want to remind everyone that we do have 4 minutes left, so please be courteous to Peggy for a speech that takes 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Peggy Bowers, and I moved to West Virginia and bought land and started a business and been paying taxes and following the rules, and it is just high time that the politicians in this state started to work for the people of West Virginia. They have been selling us out for way too long. Air, water, light, noise does not know boundaries of counties or subdivisions or even states. This data center is going to affect every living thing in this state. And it's not going to go away, and we don't get our water back, and we don't get our clean air back. This is to bring in opportunity and revenue to West Virginia. At what cost? Everyone's cost of living goes up, their quality of life goes down, their property values go down, their health goes down. How much money will this data center bring into West Virginia? How many jobs will it support? What are we talking about economic impact? Jefferson County alone brought in $900 million in tourism last year in 2024. Are they going to make that up? Berkeley County is one of the fastest growing revenue counties in the state as well. And people came here for quality of life. These builders building these new homes, do you think anybody's going to buy them? No. Can anybody sell their home now? No. Will their property have value? Absolutely not. I own property in Jefferson and in Berkeley County. And I know, and we all know now, our votes count, and politicians need to start working for the people and stop lining their own pockets with coal-fired energy.
Bob Barrett.
So for a speech not to exceed 3 minutes.
So I just want to thank you, gentlemen. You've succeeded in doing what few others can do in this day and age. You've united an entire room devoid of party. We don't care. There's Republicans, there's Democrats, there's independents. We're all here. And you guys are to thank for that. You and Governor Mountaineer Mile. So I thank you guys for that. Okay, that's about the end I have for you guys for right now. To the rest of you, thank you so much for being here, okay? It takes a lot to give up your Friday night. It takes a lot to get involved in something like this, okay? If it's not clear, these people are not on our side. They are not here to work with us. They are here to impede every step of the way of this, okay? The only question I had for you tonight, sir, was have you talked to any other counties? Because there's county commissioners in other counties besides Berkeley County that are dealing with these data centers. Have you talked to any of them to express legal concerns over HB 2014? Have you done any work with them? Because if not, there's a huge say that 2014, while installed legally, is a huge overreach of government, okay? A huge overreach. Okay, but that gets me to my next point. I have to take exception with quite a few people up here that say that these people work for us. The type of government that we have is a representative democracy, okay? That was in 1863 when the Constitution was founded in West Virginia. Okay, these people don't work for us anymore. They work for lobbyists. They work for corporations, okay? So I will give you two some credit for standing in the fire here tonight and listening to all these citizens talk. I will give you that credit because none of the other delegates had the nerve, except for Mr. Andrews, to show up to speak. And I also want to include Joe Funkhauser in that because he also voted no to 2014. So remember that at election time, okay? The other thing is these gentlemen and the other three that sit on the county commission are elected officials. Their terms can come to an end just like the delegates, okay? As far as I'm concerned, you've all committed political suicide by attaching yourself to this, okay? Lastly, Mr. Hardy, I will say this to you. You started this out by saying that Berkeley County is the tip of the spear and that anybody in West Virginia that wants to do something comes to see Berkeley County. That is a telling insight. It also tells why West Virginia is last in almost every statistical category. Because the way you, sir, and you, sir, have run Berkeley County over the last 15 years, it shows why this state and this county is falling apart. Thank you. Good day.
We want to thank you guys for coming out tonight, voicing your concerns about the data
I grew up here, but I'm from Virginia, and we just have little guidelines that the Sierra Club has been doing, and I just figured I'd give them to you all. And then I also have a picture of the power lines that are up from Gainesville by Jimmy Lee Bond.
Mason County, all have data centers being dropped in there. This fight is bigger than